Hello, friends. It was a busy Monday for Wesley at the court. He tasted yet another winning case and was all smiles when he headed to his car. As Wesley's SUV raced down the bustling street, he was rummaging through the file, gathering facts for his next case. He'd spent most of his life building a successful career and had little to no time for anything else, including love or relationships. It wasn't surprising that a young and charming 27-year-old bachelor like Wesley had never gone on a date. Not a single one since he started donning the court in a black robe, because Wesley always believed that distraction caused destruction. The one thing he loved apart from his career was children, and he always wished to settle down in life someday with as many kids as God wanted him to have. In a split second, as Wesley closed his file and began thinking about his future son or daughter, his heart raced with fear when he saw a little boy bolting across the road. Wesley's eyes widened with shock as he noticed a bus speeding towards the boy, who was in some hurry and seemed completely unaware of the approaching danger. His instincts kicked in, telling him something terrible would happen right before his eyes if he didn't rush out to the boy's rescue. "Carl, stop! Stop the car!" Wesley screamed at the top of his voice, asking his driver to pull over. The car screeched to a halt, and in a split second, Wesley sprinted across the road, springing into action to save the boy. "Watch out! Kid, move to your side!" Wesley ran screaming toward the boy, who froze in fear, unable to understand why a stranger was running in his direction. Wesley ran as fast as he could and pushed the boy to the side, rolling over to the sidewalk as the bus sped past them with a screeching roar. "Are you all right?" Wesley panted, filled with a sense of relief as he saw the boy getting up from the spot. He looked down and noticed a deep wound on the child's knee, blood streaming down his leg. But Wesley could not help sighing and thanking God because he knew it could have been much worse. The boy could have lost his life in a wink. Wesley scooped the boy up and put him in his car, intending to take him home and administer first aid. The boy was too shocked to talk the whole drive, and the only thing he shared with Wesley was his name, Oliver, and that he was 7 years old. For some reason, the lawyer understood that the boy was unsettled by something else. "All right, Oliver, you'll have to redo the bandages once you get home, okay? Where's your house? I'll drop you," said Wesley as he finished dressing Oliver's wounds. There was a long, eerie pause. At first, Wesley thought the boy was in pain due to his scraped elbows and injured knee, but there was something else that was bothering him. Oliver's face was drenched in tears when Wesley looked up. "What happened, champ? Where's your house?" "Nowhere," replied the boy. "Nowhere? What do you mean nowhere? Oliver, kiddo, where's your house?" "They took our house," the boy cried. "Who took your house?" "Big bad men took our house and threw us out. They threw Mom and me out." Wesley sat back in shock as he sensed something was really wrong. "Look, Oliver, I'm a lawyer, okay? You can trust me. Now tell me what exactly happened, and where's your mom?" "5 big bad men in uniform came to our house this morning and threw us out of the house. They locked our house and took the keys. Mommy fainted and was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. She told me to run home and bring some papers from a box under her bed." "Papers? What papers?" "I don't know. Mommy told me it was important and it was the only way to get our house back. Mommy cried, telling me to bring the papers quickly. That's why I was running home." Wesley sensed something was wrong with what happened to Oliver and his mom that morning, so he gathered the address from Oliver and drove him to his home to connect the dots. When they arrived, Oliver's home was eerily quiet, and the only other noise was the dry leaves crunching under their heavy footsteps and birds chirping on the plum tree. "The house is locked. How will we get in?" Wesley asked the boy. "I know a way inside. Follow me," replied Oliver, leading Wesley to the backyard. The lawyer soon found himself struggling to push his body through the small window in Oliver's bedroom. After a momentous struggle, Wesley popped in and rose to his feet, dusting his pants. As he pushed the boy's mother's bedroom door open, Wesley noticed the room had been ransacked, as though someone had broken in before them, looking for something. The chest of drawers was pulled out and things were strewn across the floor. Wesley's eyes scanned for a desperate clue about what could have happened there when Oliver suddenly distracted him. "This is the box. Mommy said the papers are inside this box," he said, pulling out a small iron chest from under the bed. But the lock was already broken, and when Wesley opened the box, it was empty. There were no documents, and the lawyer was convinced they were stolen. He realized only one person could solve the puzzle, the boy's mother, so he took the boy out of the house and drove him to the city hospital where his mother was admitted. As Wesley burst through the disinfectant-smelling hospital hallway, he was uneasy. His mind raced with worry for the little boy he'd taken under his wing. They had searched every nook and cranny of the house, and the documents they were looking for were missing. When Wesley approached the ward Oliver showed him, his heart sank deeper when he saw her. How could he forget that face? A woman was lying in the hospital bed, her face pale and exhausted, and the skin around her eyes raw with fresh tear marks. Wesley's heart skipped a beat when he looked closely, unable to believe his eyes. "Maddie? Madeline?" he gasped, his hands covering his silent scream. Madeline was Wesley's classmate from his past who had come to him for help with the case not too long ago. But Wesley was a champion lawyer who basked only in winning cases, so he turned her away as he thought her case had too many loopholes for a win. In fact, he hadn't even given her time to explain her situation thoroughly, and at a glance, he decided that Madeline's case wouldn't stand a chance to win in court. But now, Wesley had no time to think, and each second counted. His mind was haunted by possibilities to make sense of what was happening. How had Madeline and her son ended up homeless in one night? What did it have to do with the missing documents that could make or break their future? Wesley's mind was haunted with many unanswered questions. As Wesley stared at Madeline, he couldn't shake the feeling of guilt. He had always held his chin high on fighting for justice and taking a stand for the helpless, just as his late father had taught him to do. But his thirst for victory had put his morals in the back seat. Wesley was so ashamed when he thought how his one reckless decision of turning away Madeline when she needed his help had destroyed their lives. A sharp sting of guilt sprang into Wesley's heart, and he decided to take a stand for what was right before it was too late. He then approached Madeline, who was shocked at seeing her injured son with her former classmate. "Wesley, what are you doing here? What happened to my son?" "It was a small accident, nothing to worry about. Look, Madeline, your case was complicated, okay? That's why I refused to take it up. Maybe I should have helped you. I can still do it," said Wesley, unable to meet Madeline's eyes due to guilt. "I want you to tell me everything. What happened? And what was in those documents that went missing from your home?" "The documents are missing?" Madeline's forehead wrinkled in shock. "Jesus, what will I do now?" "Madeline, what's in those documents? When you met me some months back, you told me you wanted to prove your ownership of the company you started with your ex-husband. Do you have at least some lead to help us?" "No, I don't have anything. Those documents were the only proof I co-owned the business with my ex-husband. Now even they're gone. He stole my only chance of winning the case and threw my son and me out of our house. What will I do now?" Madeline burst into tears. Even Wesley knew he could not fight this case, let alone win, without proper evidence. But his heart told him otherwise. The case was at its dead end, but he still took it up. As Wesley sat in his office the next day, poring over a copy of Madeline's company's records he'd gathered on his own, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't adding up. There were too many differences, too many loose ends, and none of it made any sense or indicated that Madeline even co-owned the company with her ex-husband. Days turned into weeks as he delved deeper into the case, spending countless hours and sleepless nights studying every detail, looking for leads. Finally, after weeks of hard work and endless sleepless nights and one big risk that he took, Wesley got his breakthrough. "I listened to my heart for the first time, and it led me to the turning point of this whole case." On the day of the hearing, the courtroom turned silent as Wesley rose and called Madeline's ex-husband to the witness box. As soon as the man walked up to the witness box, Wesley stared in horror. "Justin?" he gasped at seeing his former friend who had once betrayed him in college by siding with the bad guys and hooligans. Until then, Wesley had no clue that Justin was Madeline's ex-husband. The trial was long and tense, with each side presenting its arguments and evidence. Wesley knew Justin well, so he began to press the weak points of his former friend, and he finally produced the evidence that flipped the case around. "Your Honor, this is the copy of the original documents indicating that my client, Miss Madeline, is the co-owner of the business she started with her ex-husband. As you can see, there's no mention that the business will be handed over to Mr. Justin Halls if they divorce. Your Honor, my client and Mr. Halls have parted ways for good, but if there's something common between them, it's this business. Also, Your Honor, Mr. Halls has booted my client out of her own house to ransack her property and destroy the documents. Here's the CCTV footage I got from my client's neighbor. That's all, Your Honor." Justin's eyes widened with alarm and his lips formed a silent scream. As it turned out, he'd sent his henchmen to steal the original documents from Madeline's house after kicking her out and had even succeeded. But he was shell-shocked when Wesley produced a copy of the original document and couldn't guess how he got his hands on it. After looking into the evidence, the judge ruled in favor of Madeline, awarding her the house and her business. Meanwhile, Justin was penalized for theft and trespassing and was put behind bars. As Wesley walked out of the courtroom with his happy client and her son, he felt a sense of satisfaction and relief he hadn't felt in a long time. "How did you get my laptop and the document?" Madeline asked Wesley. "Well, I broke into your house. Your son showed me a way through his window. I scraped my belly and ripped my pants to get in through that window, but 'twas worth it," Wesley chuckled. "I just guessed I'd find a clue in your house, and I found your laptop. I just ran a search, restored some deleted files looking for a lead, and found a soft copy of the document. I listened to my heart for the first time, and it led me to the turning point of this whole case, and the rest is history." Days passed, and looking back on that case, the lawyer knew that it had transformed his life for the better. It had taught him the true meaning of justice, and as he sat in his office, surrounded by law books and documents, Wesley couldn't help but smile. Those were the documents of the cases he had once refused to take up, fearing he'd lose. Wesley was no longer afraid of accepting defeat and was no more addicted to winning. He realized that belief in justice brings victory, and from that day onward, he never turned his back on any case that came his way. What can we learn from this story? Try to make a difference in others' lives, because success is not measured by your position, but by your good deeds. Wesley was an undefeated lawyer who fought for justice, but was very picky with his cases. He never fought cases he was certain of losing because he feared it would stain his success. But he changed his mind after fighting and winning the case of a desperate mother and son.